Hey you guys, it's me again. Welcome back. This is the MetaVerse Explorer. We have a very big week ahead of us in regards to Star Atlas. There's the first thing we're going to look at, which are some of the developments happening in Star Atlas at the moment. We have the MiniGame registration on the 5th of October. On the 6th of October, we have a MiniGame trailer, or maybe the full game trailer. We'll have a look at what it is. And then on the 7th of October, we have a ship drop. So there's a lot happening during this week. So don't be surprised if you do see a lot of increased advertising, some more marketing, and the increase in the token price. So without further ado, before we start, just go ahead and do that for me. Okay, thanks for watching and let's do it. Alright, so to kick things off, we'll take a look at the first two Medium articles that have been released. One of them was 2 days ago, and the next one is about 17 hours ago. The first one is about the ship releases and the player factions and the trailers. The second one is about the landowners and how you can get to be a landowner and kind of details about ownership in the first place. Before we go, I want to have a very quick look at the actual artwork here. So we have this, looks like to be an Oni player. Either an Oni NPC or an Oni player, and I want to really scroll down here and look at the detail that they've provided here. This is incredible. This is probably from the UE5 engine, and it just looks so detailed, so incredible. There's a few takeaways here that I really want to say. This is an Oni character. It's definitely not human, but they seem to be drawing inspiration from humanoid characters. Humanoid, like this guy has a distinctive head, ears, he's got an arm, he's got 3-4 fingers maybe, he's got 2 legs, he's bipedal. So this is very much based on the humanoid kind of characteristics. I don't, just my opinion, I don't really like that to say, because if you're going for an alien, these are aliens that these are organisms that have grown up in completely separate environments to what we understand on Earth. So they would have different kind of characteristics and different ways that they've adapted throughout evolution. Yes, this huge back end here is kind of unique, but we don't really know what that is. Is it like a tail on the head? Don't quite know. The next thing that really caught my eye is this very, very like rudimentary and simple sniper rifle. This is just incredibly simple for a space age game that I don't think it really has a place in this. What do you guys think? It's just too low tech. Like, you have lasers, you have ships that can warp through space and time, and you have a sniper rifle that shoots a bullet. We need to have a bit more than this. This is just my opinion. The next piece of artwork we saw, it seems to be some kind of agricultural setup on a planet in a giant warehouse. So we can see a few drones, and we can see some ships collecting what seems to be food. They're levitating using some gravity defying technology, which is pretty cool. I think this is the first giant instance we've seen of agriculture in the actual Star Atlas universe. It's quite interesting because, one, I know that they were thinking of implementing some kind of food or some kind of resource that's a consumption that your crew might need to eat and survive, which is kind of really expected. You can't just go ahead and go do missions without your crew actually eating anything or surviving somehow. There's a few little details that you can really imagine, you can really see here. So in the top left here, you can see the next rain in 43 hours. So this is all artificial. They're going to be able to rain onto their crops whenever you want and have the highest yield possible. I don't know if this is going to be improved by some of the NFTs that you have, some of the how you're going to do this on chain. It's quite interesting, the things that they're thinking about. We'll move ahead to the actual articles and see what they say. First article, they talk about this week in Star Atlas is going to be a big week. It's going to be 3 different items that we're going to be looking at. The first one is the doors to the minigame open. So this is on Tuesday, October 5th at 10 a.m. EDT. What are we going to see here on the 5th? We're going to see the minigame will be open to all players. You can set up your profiles, strategize, organize, and prepare for the future release by selecting 1, your faction, and introducing faction leaderboards, so it allows the guilds to position themselves. This is really interesting because this is the first that we're going to see how many people are in what guild, how dedicated they are to this guild, and also for you to choose your faction. Remember, you can select either to become an Uster, a human, or an Oni, but you'll have to be in only one faction. So choose your faction wisely, okay? There might be different, depending on the faction, you might have different buffs or different debuffs. The second thing we're going to be looking at is the trailer. So the trailer is going to be on October the 6th, and it's a full-length game trailer. It's not the same as the teaser length that we had, which had the ship in the middle of the room. This is going to be a full-length game trailer. They give you a teaser trailer up here, and it's going to be premiering in 2 days. I'll leave the link of this down here below so you can have a look. Okay, we'll go back to the Medium article, and they have the ship drops, which are happening on the 7th at 10 a.m. and at 11 a.m. EDT. So these are 2 ship drops. Let's have a look at the ships and what they're going to do. The first ship is a slick aggressive fighter, medium size, 39 meters long. And the second is it's a big bomber, and it's 130 meters in size. So I would say at least they'd be different tiers, maybe different rarities as well. Okay, and these will be on the marketplace, of course. But if you don't want to wait and use the UI of the Star Atlas marketplace, remember you can add these markets outside, and you can use DexLab or Serum or Radium and try and get these ships beforehand, so you can at least see the order books. Okay, let's move on to the next article that they really discuss. All right, so moving on to the land ownership article. There's a few interesting things here, so let's discuss and see. If you've got any comments about this, just leave it down below and we'll have a look at them and see. So they talk about land ownership. They're trying to build something quite unique in Star Atlas, where you shouldn't really be flipping these land as NFTs that usually some of these online MMOs are able to flip really quickly. Let's talk about what they're going to be doing. So each planet is divided into land parcels. So for me, does that technically mean if you have enough money, you can buy all the land parcels on the planet and you can literally own the planet? Is that right? Is that how I see it? Each parcel is represented as an NFT and records the specifics of each parcel, such as the size, the borders, locations, ownership, and a lot more stuff that you can build on the metadata on NFTs. All the buildings are built on something, which makes me think that you will need a land claim or a land parcel for you to build any kind of building. In a space station or upper crust of a planet, you will need land. Owning land itself opens the player up to the possibilities of mining, farming, for example, and to defend the territory. Let's have a really detailed look at some of the comments they've made on land. Number 1, land is owned and it can also be lost. So what does that mean? You can own your land, sure, that's easy to understand, but how do you lose your land, especially when it's an NFT in your wallet? And I think this is where one of the different defining factors of Star Atlas comes in. They say every land will have a land value tax, LVT, to prevent flipping, as well as to incentivize users to make use of their land parcels. So to my understanding, what this meant was that if you don't pay your land value tax, then at a set period of time, you might lose your land and it'll be auctioned off to the market, and whoever wants to buy that will buy that land, and they'll probably give you the value of that land that it was sold to the market. So whoever buys it off you through auction, if you don't pay your taxes, it's just like an actual government. This is how it's going to work. If you don't pay your taxes, you're going to lose your land. So players can sell their land, buy their land, collect taxes on the land, or use it for collateral for loans. Now, this is very interesting. You can use your land NFTs as collateral for loans. We've seen this happen in the NFT universe a little while, but it hasn't really proliferated. We haven't had a giant example of it. We've seen little incidences of it, but not really. So if they're able to actually pull this off, this would be very huge. You'd be able to collateralize your land, take a loan on it, and go and buy something else. You could collateralize your land to go and buy a mining ship or another ship to do missions with, and use those ship rewards to come back and pay back your land loan, which is very interesting. The next point they talk about is land parcels can be acquired through the primary markets through an auction, or in a secondary markets where landowners can sell their land parcels in exchange for Atlas. This is interesting because this is one of the first items you will be able to pay for using Atlas. Now, all these NFTs that Star Atlas has been releasing, they've been paying for in USDC. So in my mind, this is the Star Atlas team trying to build a solid base, a solid treasury for them to keep implementing on the game. This is something that is for the gamers themselves. They will be able to use your Atlas tokens that you earn in the game to go and buy your own land parcels, either primary or secondary. And in primary, that's probably through the auction process. I think there has been some changes through in regards to the auction process. I think that they might not be going ahead with it. We'll stay tuned and we'll keep an eye on that. Next thing, let's talk about the extractor and mines. So they talk about setting up extractors and mines. Let's see what they say. You'll see the real benefits when you build on top of your land. One of the best things is to build an extractor to mine for resources. Like anywhere on Earth, there's an initial cost. You'll need to maintain your items, you'll need to power your items, and then they'll produce something for you. So these are productive assets. The upside, however, is that an extractor will also earn you yield in the form of raw materials, as well as additional fuel to transport your cargo into space. Taxes and fuel are paid for using Atlas, which will be one of the second major things that you'll be able to use your Atlas for. So it's a continuous cycle. Once you have some land and once you have a mine or something else that produces something, you'll be able to use that, sell it for Atlas, and then use your Atlas to fuel the ongoing production of your facility. Raw materials in Star Atlas are NFTs, fungible assets. Actually, no, sorry, they're not NFTs. They are fungible assets that are produced by miners and consumed by production. This is very interesting. They're not NFTs, but they are fungible. So they're like for like, one for one. So they're not specifically NFTs, non-fungible assets. Next, we'll have a look at some of the regional DAOs and kind of the voting in Star Atlas and the initial idea on how it'll work. So I won't read this word for word because you guys will be able to read this, but in essence, you'll be able to use your polis, you stake your polis, the game's governance token, and you'll be able to vote on specific items. They give us an example here. So landowners in a specific region might put forward a DAO proposal to adjust taxation on certain activities. So if one place is really good with farming and you might want to impose a small tax on that using a voting mechanism to stake your polis, your actual decentralized autonomous organization might be able to, actually create a revenue for the organization, and that can be deployed somewhere else. That, of course, will need a second polis governance vote. So it's really interesting the things they're thinking about. So those are the kind of empire-specific and political structures within the entirety of Star Atlas for the regional DAOs. Now there's also low-level DAOs. You can vote to change, add, or abolish policies. Things like military, security, external relations, and as well as changing the budget a little bit to suit the region's needs. Now, it's not really specific about the region and the actual entire Star Atlas DAC. So there might be separate regions such as the low-level region, the mid-level, or the high tier. Or within these separate regions, each kind of Oni, Usta, or the different factions might have separate regions in these beginning spaces and the middle and the large spaces and the high risk spaces. Earning land is a requirement to vote, and each regional DAO vote will affect your relationship with other regions, either making things easier, like importing cheaper supplies, from builders, or it makes it actually more difficult because you're taxing them more and your relationship statistics might go down with them. It's just like an actual RPG game where, if you do something that the other party doesn't like, your relationship goes down. And if it goes too low, they might actually instigate a war. So I wonder if this will happen in the actual Star Atlas metaverse, where they'll tax them and tax them and tax them so hard that the opposing party, the other side of the taxes, gets so upset and frustrated they decide to go to war and kind of take assets from you. It's very interesting. I'm really happy to see how this will unfold. It's so cool. So before we wrap up this episode, guys, I just want to give a full disclosure. I am part of AEP, AFIA Industries, where I think the second largest guild in Star Atlas at the moment. We have about 1,000 members, whereas the first guild, which is Interstellar Alliance, they're actually a guild of guild. They have lots of different guilds under them, and they have, I think, 1,800 members. But all those members in there have different objectives. AFIA Industries, we have one objective. Full disclosure, yes, I am part of AVP. We'll be releasing some weekly newsletters on Twitter and also on Review. So the first kind of newsletter talks about the beginning of this newsletter series. We're going to be talking about announcements, the start writing competitions, some gameplay introductions, and assets as well. We'll talk about the environmental releases and a lot of different things. So if you're interested about staying up to date in Star Atlas, you can watch these videos here where I kind of summarize things for you, and you can also subscribe to these weekly newsletters for AFIA Industries. And that being said, actually AFIA Industries is also producing some very specialized, highly specialized Star Atlas contents for everyone else to digest. So keep up to date, and we'll keep you up to date as well. Remember how I'd said there'd be lots more marketing coming this week? This is a prime example of that. So this is from the Star Atlas Twitter, and they said for every 1,000 tweets or likes and comments, they're going to be entering another 10 PS X4s into a pool to be just delivered over everyone who tweets. And it's quite interesting, you know, for every 1,000 tweets, people will be getting 10 ships. We're up to, I think, 6,000 tweets at the moment. So this is a prime example, a prime way for that we're talking about marketing to get incentivize the user base to just spread the message all around everywhere that Star Atlas is going to be doing this. You know, 6,000 retweets, which is really, really large, I think. And then, you know, people will be able to get ships for this, which is really interesting. So they've got some good marketing brains behind Star Atlas. All right, guys. So before we wrap it up, this is a small countdown for you. It's got 1 day and 13 hours until the minigame releases. Then the minigame at the start of it, you will be able to select your faction. Let's have a quick go through of the factions. So the faction selection, you can go through an Oni faction, a Mud faction, or an Oyster faction. The Onis are for stealth, scanning distance, so if you have a Fuse Opod, this is the kind of thing for you. Advantages for the Mud faction are firepower and travel distance, which is, you know, if you're looking for like a more PvP style. And then you have the Oyster faction, probably the more peaceful, maneuvering, hull strength, kind of like the trading or kind of the transport business in the faction. Now remember, you can be in any of these factions, but you can choose whichever race you want. So the race is different from your faction. So this is just the timeline. The faction selection will be coming, and right after that, we'll have the player organizations. These are kind of like the guilds, as you think, the DACs, where you'll be able to select what DAC to go into. Full disclosure, I am part of the AEP. Like I said, you don't have to join our guild. There's lots of other ones out there. The best place to go and find them is through the Star Atlas Discord. There's a whole bunch of them, and they list what their objectives are. The two biggest ones are AEP and Interstellar Alliance. I think the third one at the moment might be Rome. Don't quote me on that. So after player organizations, we'll have the usernames, and that hasn't really been announced yet. We don't know how much it's going to cost, what kind of benefits you get from having a specific username. I think it just might be easier to input your address into it. And to end the episode off, we'll look at the leaderboards and see what the current people have up. So we have number one is still the same guy at $4.2 million in Star Atlas, just in Star Atlas assets alone. He has double the amount of the next person. So this is an incredible whale that we have out there. And it's even likely that he has more assets in different accounts that we don't even know. For all we know, the number one, number two, number three could be the same person. Now, we don't have any information to say that, but hey, if they register their name, we'll be able to see. The next person has 2 million, and the number three has 2.2 million and 2.1 million. So they're pretty close, and you can see it just tapers off after that. It's interesting to see that let's say the top third one has 2.1 million, but if you go to the top 10, they only have 257k, which means like there's a really high concentration right at the top, and it just tapers all the way down after that. You know, so it's really interesting. Okay, guys, I'll leave you here for now. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you next episode when we do a video on the actual player factions. Hint, hint, do not sign up for the first faction you see. Wait until you have a bit more information. Everyone else might be aping in as soon as the factions release. Just wait a little bit. You need to have all the information that you can before you start registering for things. Remember, because I think this is permanent. So once you register, you're in it. Okay, guys, I'll see you later. Thanks for watching. Ciao.